The biggest key to my success has been very simple, but deeper in meaning. It has always been think big. Big for me and my mental preparation has always been defined as becoming incredibly great. Everyone, thank you for tuning into the Cornelius Wortham, the Mental Earth channel. Like always, I am Cornelius Wortham. Thank you so much for each week sitting down throughout your busy schedule and having these mental deposits that we do each week of becoming incredibly great. And we like to call that being big. We know as kids is that we always say that when I grow up or when I get big. And big for us is, like we said, is becoming incredibly great. And so we know on this journey is that we have talked about that we have to have a lot of mental deposit to be able to have a successful launch. And with that is that each week all we're doing is trying to get mental coins deposited into our mental bank. And so that we don't have a lot of withdrawals. With that, we know that when you have a lot of withdrawal in your regular bank account, that you will go into overdraft. With that, what we don't want is bankruptcy in our mind, because bankruptcy in our mind leads to stress, it leads to anxiety, it leads to all those unwanted things that we do not want in our life. If you check the title said, "Storms don't last forever," and that is really personable. It's very personal to me because in our natural life is that we know on a day-to-day we all have encountered some type of storm, whether it's a windstorm, whether it's rain, a snowstorm, a sandstorm, tornadoes, hurricanes, that lightning storms. We don't have those. We don't have those type of storms that have came to us. And then a lot of times the storm have caught us very off guard. That a lot of times is that you go to work on a sunny day. I live here in Indianapolis, and that, you know, if you don't like the weather, they say here that if you don't like the weather, that you just wait 5 minutes and it will change. Is that we know that. We understand that a lot of times where we live at it geographically is that we do have that weather right now that's unpredictable. And sometimes that on your journey is that you do go out with a set of clothes on that's fit for that weather for in the morning, and then by noon it have changed on us. And so what we're talking about today is that storms don't last forever. Storms don't last forever. You have to think a lot of times in our life is that we're going to encounter some type of storm. You have to understand that as you on this successful journey, wherever speed that you decide to move on this journey, wherever stop that you decide to make, wherever destination or goal that you have in mind, is that you're going to run into some type of storm. And you have to understand that when you run in these type of storms is that you have to be prepared for the storm. And understand that a lot of times, as we talked about earlier, you're not going to be prepared. No. Sometimes on a rainy day is that you're not going to have your umbrella, your rain boots, your raincoat. Is that a lot of times is that it's going to be 80 degrees and suddenly a wind comes through and it becomes 60 crisp and you don't have your jacket. A lot of times is that you're going to be caught unprepared. And so how you deal with that is the greatest thing of helping you get out the storm. And so we sit here and we say, okay, Cornelius, is that I am in a storm right now. What do I do? What do you say to me? What do I do? Do I keep moving? And I just simply say to you is that when you're in a storm, is that you have to learn how to become adverse resistant. Yes, adverse resistant. You have to understand that when you're in a storm on this journey of being successful in your life, is that a lot of times the storm poses as adversity. And so you have to learn how to be adverse resistant. Think about in our life is that we have electronic gadgets that can withstand the storm and the rain. Is that they have called that waterproof. Is that we have boots that are waterproof now. We have clothes that have became waterproof. And we also have shoes, our rain boots that are waterproof as well. So why we're not having ourselves resistant proof to the storm. Is that I know sometimes in our life that we have multiple storms going in our life. Is that when you have multiple storms that going on in your life, is that you don't know how to repair if you don't know what the storm is. You say, you don't know what the storm is. I will tell you a story. It was a man one day that he prepared himself for this journey every single day the right way. He got his coffee at the same time. He always got up early at the same time. He always got his favorite newspaper. He always watched his favorite news show before he left on his journey. Every day he always left at the same time to make sure that on his route that he got where he needed to be on time every single day. So one day on his drive is that he encountered a storm. Is that the winds was raging. Is that you seen tornadoes in the rearview mirror, in front and the back, and that you seen hurricanes, and that you seen birds flying unorthodox, and that you seen a lot of things lightning in front of him. He's seen a lot of things that he haven't seen before. And so, as he encountered the storm, is that he did something so it was out of the ordinary for him to do. Is that he pulled over on the side of his journey because hail started coming down, and then it was hard for him to see. Is that normally that when he encountered such storms, is that he began to plow through them. And so what he did was he said that today I'm going to decide to talk to the storm. So he pulled over to the side of the road, and that he got out, and he asked a simple question. He asked the question was, he asked the storm, what is your name? He said, what is your name? He said, I haven't seen a storm quite like you before. And the storm said to him, he said that my name is Scatter. He said, well, it's nice to meet you, Scatter. My name is Cornelius. And so Scatter said, it's nice to meet you as well, Cornelius. And so Cornelius spoke to the storm, and he said, I haven't seen one quite like you. Is that you having a lot of destruction. Is that I see cars moving. I see people's getting blown away. Is that I see that the road is unbearable. Is that it's hard to see. Is that I'm wondering, how long are you going to be here? Have we all been there in our life? Have we all been there? Is that we encounter a storm that I'm from Mississippi and I'm country and I love my country accent. Is that it's who I am. I'm never going to change it. I'm from Calhoun City, Mississippi. As I always say, one red light. It's not about to hold you long. And so you have to think is that we've been there. And so in being there from Mississippi, we'll say that you've been in a storm that somewhere that he have torn our whole mouth out. You have been in a storm where it have your heart sitting where your toes are. We've been in them storms. We have been in them storms in our life is that we have sat at a table. We don't know where we're going to get money for our light bill, our water bill, our gas, feed our kids, clothes. We don't know how we're going to live the next day. We always been in them storms. We always been in them storms relationship-wise is that the more I stay with him, the more I believe to myself that he loves me, and the more that he hits me is more that the love become real. We've been in those storms. We've been in those storms at our job is that no one buys into us professionally. Is that everything around us is going around. They're laying people off. Is that they're cutting back hours. We've been in those storms. We've been in those storms as small businesses is that business is not generating enough money. Is that we begin to run out of ideals. Is that we've been in those storms as you as pastors in a spiritual sense. Is that no one is coming to church. Is that it seems like no one cares about church anymore. We've been in those type of storms. So we've been in those type of storms. How do we deal with those storms? And so Cornelius asked the simple question to scatter. I simply said, how long are you going to be here? And the storm spoke back and said, as long as you continue to stand still. You have to know a lot of times is that when you have a scattered thunderstorm, is that it might be pouring and raining here. But if I just keep moving, if I just keep moving and easing on down that yellow brick road, as long as I keep moving, is that I begin to see the sunshine. That is how you deal with the storm. That is how we all deal with our storm. You have to keep moving. I know times that it becomes tough. It's agonizing at times. That it's demoralizing. A lot of times that it's embarrassing. Is that a lot of us don't like to know everybody know that when we're dealing with something internally. But you have to get up and keep moving. Is that you have to begin to speak to the storm. You have to tell the storm to move. You can't stay. You can stay, but I'm choosing to leave. And so that's what you have to be able to do in your storm. But at times that I know that it is extremely hard to move in the midst of your storm. I have been there before. Is that, sometimes that we all can say is that we become comfortable in our storm. We can raise our hand. We all been there. We all have been. Well, become comfortable in our storm because sometimes things in the storm is familiar to us. We have a familiarity to a lot of things that in the storm is that sometimes that in moving may mean that somebody in my family has to stay in the storm. Or my friends are in the storm. Is that a lot of times is that it's hard coming out the storm. And a lot of times that I might not have the strength that I think I need to move in the storm. So I tell you today, my friend, is that that's where it becomes, you have to be at first resistant. Sometimes the storm going to catch us without a raincoat. So you have to be able, in your mental bank, to be able to withstand what comes. Is that when people talk about you, when people do things to you, if you don't get that promotion, if you don't get that position that you desire for, is that if you sitting there and you waiting on my husband, if you sitting there and you waiting to find your wife, you sitting there and waiting to find your house, is that my credit score might not be where it's at right now. But I'm asking you to keep moving. Is that athletic wise, you might not be where you at right now. Is that you have to continue to work. Is that faith without work is dead. Is that as long as you continue to sit in the storm, it's going to continue not to get better because you're not moving. But if you decide not to move, we're here to help you. And all we want you to do is to continue to put on that adverse resistance to situation. You think about when you have a watch, is that now Apple says is that your phone now can go so many meters deep in the water before it and it continue to operate efficiently. That is what we have to do in the midst of the storm. Even though the storm is raging in our life, we have to continue to operate effective and efficient. Is that yes, is that sometimes is that you won't know, is that sometimes is that a snowstorm comes in and frees everything that we have. Is that, but you have to understand is that if somebody somewhere is going to help you to keep moving and they're going to bring you that hot cocoa to warm you up. But you have to keep moving. At times it's going to be hard. At times it's tough. But you have to understand at times you're going to fail. Failure is a part of success. It's a part of success. The late Kobe Bryant said that his brain cannot process failure. Kobe stated that if he had to sit down with himself and tell himself that he was a failure that was worse than death. You have to understand that sometimes that you're going to fail to be able to understand the ingredients that you need to be very successful. And you can be very successful with Ment Coins. You heard that? You just received your direct deposit. Just remember, determination today equals success tomorrow. And storm don't last forever.